Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live stream. I hope you're all very well tonight. So I want to say a big hello to everyone who's on the stream. So first we have Enzo the God. Great to see you, Enzo. Magister. Great to see you, Magister. We have Anonymous. Great to have you on, Anonymous. Kenny. Great to see you. Archangel. Great to see you. Raven 1983. Great to see you. The Buttons blog. Great to have you on again. Reagan Elite. Great to have you on again. Ak is mad. Hi Max. Thanks for the video. No problem. Great to see you. We have Dano. Great to see you, Dano. Killer. Great to have you on, Killer. Thanks for moderating once again. We have Lennon. Great to see you. Hope you're well. Great to have you on as always. We have English Viking. Great to see you, English Viking. We have Tiny Demolition Lover. Hope you're very well tonight. We have, let me see, Ministerian. Great to have you on, Ministerian. Hope you're well. Thanks for moderating. Gingers, great to see you. Super, great to see you. Glasgow Kiss, great to have you on. Thanks for moderating. Monkeytron, great to have you on, Monkey. Hope you're well. We have John O'Sullivan. Pete, great to see you, both of you. Tom, great to have you on. Tom, thanks for coming. We have Red Star, great to see you, Red Star. We have Cotton Cat. I was laughing at one of the comments Cotton Cat posted on the channel today. We have William, great to see you. Luke, Yoni. We have Monkey. No, I said hello to Monkeytron. Aoife, great to see you. Oraman, great to have you on. Captain Levince, great to see you. Paolo, great to have you on. Let me see. IHF. Conservator, great to see you. Gene T. Joe Green, great to have you on, Joe. Hope you're well. I know I'm missing people. Nico, great to have you on. CGM, great to see you. Oh, and we're up to 162. That's great. So I want to say a big thank you to everyone who's come on the stream. Sorry if I haven't said hello to you personally. I hope you're all very well. Luca, great to see you. Dude, great to have you on. Katrina, great to see you. Thanks for all your comments on the channel. Lulu's Corner, great to see you. FSM is the dog. It definitely is the dog, yes. Michael, Nico, thank you so much for that super chat. I don't hear the notification, but it's sometimes a bit of a delay. Great to have you. Great to have you on. Thanks so much for that super chat. So of course we're going to talk about Brexit. We're going to talk about COVID. We're going to all those fantastic things. So let's jump into it. So once again, if you'd like to support the stream, you can hit me with a super chat. Make sure to smash that like button, and if you want to support the channel further, you can become a patron. I've seen a large number of new patrons, which is fantastic. And of course, after the stream, we have our after stream chat on Patreon. On Discord. When you become a patron, you get access to Discord, and you get we have our post stream chat on Discord. But you can also just support the channel by sharing the videos. Sharing them on social media is a great place, and commenting. I always love to read. Fortunately, I can't read all of the comments. I try to read as many as possible, and I try to avoid the trolls. But sometimes I get baited into responding to them. We Scott's Dog, great to see you. We have Matthew. Max is doing a special hours after hours Mankini stream. Not safe for work. We have who else have we got? Michael, great to have you on, Michael. Hope you're well. So let's begin for tonight, of course, with Brexit. And you know what's happening with Brexit is it's going up and down like a roller coaster. So one day it seems to be they've been making progress. The next day it's going to be all no deal Brexit, and then there's a chance, and then there isn't a chance, and it's hard to tell what the hell is going on. So this is some news that has just dropped just before I started the stream. It says here, Michel Barnier seeks to end Brexit deadlock with fresh fishing proposal. So this is a last-minute attempt to save the talks. So it says here, Michel Barnier has sought to break the deadlock in what he described as the final few hours of the post-Brexit trade talks with a new proposal on EU fishing access in British waters after Boris Johnson called on Brussels to move to seal the deal. After meetings with aides to the EU heads of state and government and fisheries ministries, Barnier was locked in late-night discussions with the UK negotiators, led by David Frost, at what Barnier described as a moment of truth. Talks are expected to continue into Saturday, with UK sources downplaying the chances of a breakthrough following Barnier's move. That's interesting now, why they would downplay the possibility of a breakthrough. It could be possible that there is going to be a breakthrough, but they want to downplay it because they want to claim victory, so if there is a breakthrough. But the way things have been going on, I don't know if there's going to be a deal, because I have said on the channel before, if they could park fishing in some way and move on with the other aspects of trade, then they would have a deal. But I don't think they're going to do that. So it just goes on to say there's been major there are also major differences over how much the UK would be able to catch in its own waters in the future, with Barnier only edging up his offer from 15 to 18%. The UK has demanded that 60% of the £650 million euro in EU turnover from fish caught in British waters is taken back. See, the problem with all of this is that the EU have been saying, look, fishing is one issue that we're going to deal with, but the UK need access to our energy market, for example. And if you want to access the energy market, then you need to provide us with something on fishing. So this issue of fishing, while it seems on its own something that's not very understandable to be causing such a problem, Max Payne to the gammon. Okay. It seems to be a case of I'm reading the chat and getting distracted. Who cares about fishing? I need lawnmowers. Yes, Monkeytron. Yeah, this is an issue that, you know, the fishing industry for the UK is very, very small. It's about the same size as the lawnmower industry. But the EU are saying, look, we need to maintain stocks. We need to maintain access to fishing waters, because these are agreements that have existed before Brexit, before you decided to leave. And going forward, we need to maintain that. But but if you're willing to, if you're willing to move on this issue, then we're willing to move on another issue. It's unfortunate that it's come down to this, but it seems to be, it was either fishing or Northern Ireland. Now, Northern Ireland has been resolved. That hasn't been the issue really since the withdrawal agreement had been signed. But at the end, it was taking back control of our fish, taking back control of our borders, and at the end, we're left with fish. It says here, earlier, Barnier said that the main obstacles to a deal over whether Brussels would be able to hit British goods with tariffs if the government closes its fishing waters to EU fishing fleets in the future. With the European Parliament having said that it needed an agreement by midnight on Sunday for it to be able to give its consent in a vote this year, the EU chief negotiator said the 9 months of trade talks had reached the moment of truth. Barnier said it would only be fair for Brussels to be able to put tariffs on UK goods and fishery products in particular, in a possible sign of EU flexibility on the issue. So the idea that, okay, if you're a bit more flexible, what we'll do is we'll put tariffs on on certain issues, on certain products, instead of putting them on everything, in a possible sign of flexibility on the issue. The UK is concerned that Brussels would strike at non-fishing products in such a scenario. So they're saying, okay, we'll exempt fisheries from tariffs if you move on this. and the UK is saying no. We're afraid that if we move on this, then you're going to hit other products with tariffs, which are much more important to the UK economy. See, this is the problem: is that if Boris Johnson crashes out without a deal, then there'll be tariffs on everything, including fish. So now some Brexiteers will be happy. Look, he stood his ground and he protected the fishing industry, but then turned around and destroyed the fishing industry, because if you want to export your fish, you'll have to export them to the EU, and then they're going to see tariffs. Glasgow Kiss, thank you so much for that super chat. Who needs fish? We will all have more gammon that we could get rid of. No one else wants them. I'd love to know who came up with the term gammon to describe certain Brexiteers. I don't know. Maybe Mark Francois was the original gammon. I'm not sure. What if H.P. Lovecraft predicted Brexit in his Innsmouth story? Innsmouth, Britain, and Boris Johnson is a manifestation of dragon. I'm a bit of a fan of H.P. Lovecraft, so yeah, it could be the deep ones. Will somebody think of Captain Birdseye? Yes. Barnier also advised Johnson that his mother was a hamster. His father smelled of elderberry. Lick the like, or he'll be forced to lick the ham and cheese and pineapple pizza. Yes, smash that like button, guys. Will the tariff on tinned pineapple chunks be affected? Everything will be affected. So I want to show you. Unfortunately, we're not getting very much information from the European Union or David Frost at the moment. We're not seeing any progress taking place, and there isn't very much time left. The European Parliament has said by Sunday, if we don't have something on Sunday, then we're not going to be able to we're not going to be able to scrutinize it or actually pass it. I don't think there's actually any time left to scrutinize it. It's just pass it or not. And Parliament, the UK Parliament is talking about sitting on the 28th, which is not next Monday, but the Monday after that, if necessary, to pass it. The European Union have said the same. They'll stay open, for as long as necessary. But I don't know. So I want to show you this report from Euronews about the negotiations that are taking place and whether there'll be a breakthrough.
The moment of truth for Brexit trade talks, but Prime Minister Boris Johnson says things...
Tell me, guys, if you can't hear it. I can hear it fine, but in case in the stream you can't hear it.
...are looking difficult. Both sides are waiting to see who blinks first on the issue of EU access to British fishing waters. The European Parliament has set a Sunday deadline for talks to end and has passed contingency measures meant to ease the pain of a no-deal Brexit. Jack Parrock reports.
As post-Brexit trade negotiations head into what the EU side is calling the final hours, the European Union continues to prepare for a no-deal scenario. The European Parliament has approved contingency measures to prevent disruption in road and air transport, and also to extend the existing fisheries authorisations.
But they need the cooperation of Boris Johnson's government.
According to Brussels and London, there has been substantial progress on many issues, but still significant differences remain.
It's the moment of truth. We have very little time remaining. Just a few hours to work through these negotiations if you want this agreement to enter into force on January 1st.
The UK's we've done a lot, I think, to try and help, and we hope that our EU friends will will see sense and come to the table with something themselves. So
but what does Boris Johnson want? He keeps saying, "I want our European friends to move." Artemis, great to see you on the stream. Great to see you too, Verti. What does Boris Johnson want them to do? So yeah, they need to move. They need to be more flexible. But in what way?
That's really where we are.
Britain wants to slash the allowance of fish European boats can take out of its waters by well over a half, far too much for the EU. And London is committed to renegotiating the quotas annually. The EU wants a longer-term agreement.
Without this access, of course, this would mean the end of fishery communities, because they just can't do their job anymore. And therefore, it is very important that we manage to get a long-term agreement where we have as well a security in planning for our fishermen, because there is a lot of investment.
The European Parliament has issued a new ultimatum to negotiators to strike a deal by Sunday so that they can ratify it before the end of the year. They expect the document to run to 700 pages or more.
700 pages, okay. Bozo is gambling on the German car industry to his rescue. The breaking point poster was half right. Just substitute brown people with HGV lorries. I'm bloody vegan. Yeah, so you won't have to worry about fish. It's not access to British waters, but access to the North Sea. Yes, that's true, actually. No fish and chips. Andrew, thank you so much for that super chat. Johnson has to wait till the last minute in order to brute force it through Parliament. That's probably a point. That's something I was saying at the beginning of when this all started. Was Boris Johnson wants to appear as the hero. I faced down the EU. I got them to negotiate right down to the wire. I was holding all the cards. And this is sort of the language that is coming out of number 10. Boris Johnson said the EU need to move. The EU are under stress. The EU are under pressure. We're willing to walk away without a deal. That's Boris Johnson's face to the public. That's his message to the public. But I think behind closed doors, he's pushing out bricks as an expression, a British and Irish expression, I think it is. A bit more polite. I was a bit more polite there, but you get the impression I'm talking about. You get the idea I'm talking about. So what's been talked about behind closed doors is very different to what Boris Johnson and his cabinet are saying in public. Now, maybe Boris Johnson truly believes leaving without a deal will not have the negative impact that most of us believe. Does he know something that we don't? So thanks again for that super chat, Andrew. Let me read some more of your comments before we go on. Boris Johnson does not want to be the Prime Minister who cancelled Christmas. It's as if he's trying to please everyone to avoid unpopularity. Personally, I think it's too late to be worried about that. I agree. In regards to the pandemic, he's trying to play, and you saw it in Parliament. He tried to play Keir Starmer as being the Grinch, and him being, Father Christmas. I'm not going to cancel Christmas. Keir Starmer wants to cancel Christmas. Keir Starmer wants to send us back into a lockdown. He's so afraid of criticism. Remember, and we've seen this from the very beginning. When the floods took place before the election last year, there was flooding in, I think it was in the north of England. And Boris Johnson waited a week, or maybe even more than a week, before coming out and meeting the public. And as soon as he met the public, of course, he was browbeaten, he was shouted at, he was insulted, and he was trying to put on a brave face. And he realized, these people are not happy with my performance. And he walked right into it. Instead of, as soon as the floods took place, he went out and met the people straight away. It's like he doesn't care, but at the same time he does. He doesn't care about doing the extra work. He doesn't want to do the extra work in order for people to admire him or to even accept him. Because, of course, people will disagree with you politically. But if you go out and meet the public and try and help out and try and show that you're there for them, even if they disagree with you publicly, they may see you and say, well, he's actually not that bad of a guy. But Boris Johnson is too lazy to do that. Tom, thank you so much for that super chat. Maybe hold another parliamentary election. I'm voting for the hamster party. I'd vote for them too. Scott's dog, why is no one talking about the chips? Surely it's an oversight. What if we end up chipless? That's actually a valid point. Not so much for the UK, but for Ireland. Ireland imports most of its potatoes to fry in chippers from the UK, from Scotland actually, and there's a risk that they will not be able to import the chips that they require, and there will be a shortage. Sir Keir Starmer. Keir Starmer. Let me see. Starmer totally has the measure of Johnson in PMQs. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Let's get off the topic of fish. No, but it is true. Boris Johnson is not capable of responding. He has his scripted response, his scripted answers, but he's not able to think on his feet. And of course, he needs a crowd behind him shouting him on. He's not capable of intellectual responses. Bozo knows a no deal is horrific. Or if not, then Michael Gove will have explained it to him. EU can see UK has no cards to play, but they're still trying to humour him. Gammon in a barrel. That's true. I hope. See, this is the thing about Boris Johnson. It's difficult to identify whether he doesn't know or he's pretending not to know. I made a good point. Wow, maybe next time it'll be intentional. Hey Max, EU is potato union. Irish can ask for potatoes from Germany or Poland. Good idea. Brexiteers have lots of chips, mainly on their shoulders. That's true. I do miss fish and chips, I must admit. There'll be riots in the streets of Dublin if they run out of tater chips or tato chips. Yes, there will be riots probably. Especially, remember I think it was in the United States where they ran out of nuggets or something, and people were rioting in the streets because they ran out of nuggets in some restaurant, McDonald's I think it was. Although I don't like calling McDonald's a restaurant, it's not. It appears BMW is going to close the plant in Oxford. Oh no. But this is to be expected. First of all, companies need certainty, not confusion. Boris Johnson is delivering confusion, not certainty. And going forward, if there are going to be tariffs on their exports, then look, I uploaded a video. I think it was KFC. Sorry, thanks for those comments, KFC. Same thing. Have we left yet? Don't call nuggets food. No. But I uploaded a video yesterday about Amazon. So if you're buying things from Amazon, you're going to see tariffs. Now it's not going to be on everything, but it'll be on certain priced goods. But it's going to slow these goods down as well because they may have to be checked. They may have to be there may be bureaucracy around it. Like I remember a few years ago, I bought something from the United States. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't a mankini, I promise. I bought something from the United States, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting for it to arrive. I think it was after a few weeks it arrived, and I had to pay a tariff on it, a duty. Sorry, it was about Kent full of crap. I think it was about 40 euros or something like that, and the value of the original product was something like 100. I said, what the hell? And I said, okay, never again. I'm never buying anything from the United States again, if possible. The United States would be assisting relief in the UK. Kent freight chaos. I left 2 years ago just to get ready. Save Brexit Hardman Baker. Steve Brexit Hardman Baker, yes. What are these people going to do post-Brexit, I wonder? Well, I guess they have their other grift lined up. What is it? The COVID recovery group. Glasgow Kids, thanks so much for that super chat. It's not mentioned much this week, but the devolution settlement was tore up with the passing into law of the internal market bill. So the internal, I should have actually followed this. I didn't get a chance to follow it, but it seems the internal market bill is passing into law. So the devolution settlement was torn up. See, this is what the protest was about, I think, in Parliament on Wednesday. This is an attempt, as I said in the video, to undermine devolution, to undermine Scotland's place in the UK. And I think this is actually going to backfire on the Tories. This is going to backfire on Boris Johnson's government. It's going to push more and more people towards supporting independence. And if one route is taken away, I'm pretty sure the SNP, but the independence movements in Scotland will find another way. I think they have many different routes to independence. This was, having your own government, a devolved government, was a massive vehicle towards independence. That has been, that has hit a serious bump in the road. So they're going to look at other ways. And it's important to remember that there isn't just the SNP in Scotland. There are other movements and smaller parties like the Greens, for example, who support independence. But going forward, it'll be interesting to see how both the Labour Party and the Conservative Party will join forces. It's unbelievable to think that the Conservatives and the Labour Party would join forces at the moment on any issue. But later on, next year, when there's the Scottish elections, they definitely will. Okay, let's just continue with this video.
We are ready to be flexible as possible, but we need, of course, time to scrutiny.
Both sides say they're working to mitigate the impact of a no deal. Without an agreement, though, trade disruption is likely to be immense. Jack Parrock, Euronews, Brussels.
And you've been just listening to Jack Parrock there, and he is standing by in Brussels for us, and Tig Enright is in London. Jack, we heard some stark warnings there from Michel Barnier over no-deal preparations. What's the latest on these negotiations?
Well, we know that Michel Barnier himself has been going to, especially the coastal representatives here in Brussels, also representatives from the permanent representations of the EU's countries here in Brussels, to see what margins he has in the negotiations, specifically on fisheries, this idea of how much room he can change the quotas. But what, from the numbers we understand, Isabel, the UK and the EU side are still miles apart, where the UK is saying they want to reduce European capacities to fish in British waters by somewhere between 60 to 80%, and the margins that Michel Barnier is being told he can negotiate within are something like 18 to 25%. So this is a chasm between the two sides right at this final hour, as they're trying to make this deal come to pass, to make sure that there is a no deal, that they prevent a no deal situation come the 1st of January.
And Tig, a chasm maybe, and very little wiggle room, it seems.
Yeah, a pretty big gap to be bridged, although I must say, people talking about final hours and late stages, I would put money on these talks going past Sunday, no matter what the European Parliament says. I hope I'm wrong on that front. But, you know, at the end of the day, if compromise is going to be found in a way that they can sell it to purists back home, there is a long list of ways in which you can dress it up with different language in which to make it look like a victory. That's how the Northern Irish backstop ultimately became the Northern Ireland Protocol, or kicking the can down the road. When you hear talk about review clauses and implementation periods, that's negotiating tone for putting off, negotiating code for putting off big decisions until later when the spotlight has faded and compromise doesn't feel so painful.
I think this is a very valid point. Boris Johnson is about protecting himself. So he's interested in, you know, dressing this up as we have won. We have defeated the European Union. And I've said before how Boris Johnson could, you know, compromise on everything and just try and sell it to the public as, see, I have won. We have defeated the European Union. I see him trying to do that. Now, the European Union could get on board with that and say, okay, Boris, you just compromise and we'll pretend that we compromised, and you can sell it in Parliament. Because if you're going to push it through Parliament without a vote, if you're going to convince members of your party to support it, if you know that excuse me, if you know that Keir Starmer is going to vote on it anyway, because he said so basically, then there's no real cost to you. And of course, next year, what people are going to focus on is on the pandemic. They're going to focus on COVID. They're going to focus on the new vaccine, the rolling out of the vaccine. And Brexit is going to sort of disappear unless there is chaos. If there's chaos, then people will be focusing on that. Now, of course, a deal will not eliminate chaos. It will reduce it. So maybe Boris Johnson is also thinking at the same time, well, if how much chaos can we deal with? How much chaos can we get away with? Let me read some of your comments. Boris thinks he can blah his way out of anything. My worry is that he might be right. It's difficult to predict because if he leaves without a deal, there's going to be chaos. Now, I think he may try to mitigate some of that by having some sort of compromise with the EU, not on the deal, but on the implementation of some aspects of it, so that he can say, not the deal, but implementation of, a no deal. In a sense, how do you implement a no deal? The idea that whatever damage is done, he's going to say to the European Union, look, you're going to suffer as well. You don't want tailbacks in Calais. You want trucks to pass. So what if we kick the can down the road, basically? Let's deal with these issues later on. Let's have some sort of mini transition period, implementation period. I talked about this as well before, that Boris Johnson could try to negotiate some sort of implementation period, which is basically kicking the can down the road and getting over some of the worst aspects of a deal or a no deal Brexit. So they would get a deal, but it would not happen now. It would be later on. And I think the journalist here is correct by saying that, look, the EU set targets, set deadlines, but these haven't been respected. The real deadline is the end of the year. But the closer we get to that, the less likely it's going to be ratified.
Okay, so it could still go on, Tig. We're going back to what Jack was saying in his package. He was talking about trade disruption. In the case of a no deal, well, the UK is already seeing that kind of disruption already.
Remember, deal or no deal, there will be disruption because we are re-erecting a border that hasn't been there for decades, reintroducing border controls that haven't been there for the same period of time, making traders start to complete paperwork that most of them haven't done in their working lives. And yes, we are already seeing it. Long queues of trucks approaching the port of Dover, which is the main crossing between here and the continent. Also long queues at Holyhead in North Wales, the main crossing point between Britain and Ireland. Even though nothing has changed yet, the reason for that is that people are trying to get stuff across before January the 1st and also stockpiling to prepare for any potential shortages which you could have in the new year. It is a taste of what's to come. But if there is no deal, then you've got the added complication of tariffs and all the paperwork that will require too. And the policing of regulations is going to happen anyway. Tariffs will come on top of that. More paperwork and more potential for even greater delays.
There was a story in The Guardian, I think, today about ham sandwiches, ham and cheese sandwiches, where truck drivers will be forbidden from travelling across the border between England and France if they're taking ham and cheese sandwiches with them, because these contain animal products and animal products need to be controlled, and they're not able to control sandwiches, so they will not be allowed to cross the border with their sandwiches. And in the article they talked about how this could create friction. Can you imagine truck drivers physically fighting with members of the customs office over, why are you throwing away my sandwiches? Let them eat gammon puffs. A slice of salty gammon could replace ham. The ham will get through. A slice. Possibly kicking the can down the road until a second Scottish referendum, then use a deal breakthrough to convince some in Scotland to stay within the UK. No, I don't think that's the case. I don't think the focus here is on Scotland. Really, we're into a sort of territory that's absolute insanity. Boris Johnson is willing to destroy UK businesses to save his own arse. But I don't think it's going to save his arse, because he's afraid of the ERG. He's afraid of the Brexiteers within his party. But surely he should be more afraid of the damage that a no-deal Brexit is going to do. Because he has been talking about, I'm going to get a deal, I'm going to get a deal. And I don't know how long he can sell the idea that a no deal, like an Australian style deal, is not a no deal Brexit, or WTO terms is not a no deal Brexit, because he's going to be asked, and I hope he's going to be asked when he speaks to the press, please explain the difference between an Australian style deal and a no deal Brexit. I wish somebody would actually ask him that, or even ask other Brexiteers, Michael Gove or anyone who goes on the radio or on TV. Ask them, can you please explain the difference between a no-deal Brexit and Australian-style deal? Because they can't. If you freeze your ham sandwich and take it out of the country, maybe if it's sealed, it can be done. But I don't know. And unfortunately, businesses don't know either.
It's extremely complex. And Jack, as these talks go down to the wire, the ultimate decision would lay with the European Parliament on this deal. But it seems that member states might be wanting to have the last word.
Yeah, that's excuse me. Yeah, that's right, Isabel. For what it's worth, I think I agree with what Tig was saying, that no matter what the European Parliament has said about its need to vote on this deal, that the two sides will just continue talking. Now, what we are understanding, and what the sort of buzz this afternoon has been about this deal, is that the European Council is likely to be preparing itself to not to override the European Parliament's right to rubber stamp and to scrutinise the deal, but to force through a provisional acceptance of the deal so that it can come into force even if the European Parliament doesn't have the time to do it. Everything is being done, Isabel, to prevent that cliff edge happening on the last day of this year.
And I think a similar situation is probably happening in the UK. That Boris Johnson is speaking to Jacob Rees-Mogg, the leader of the House, and he's saying to him, "Look, can you? Is it possible that we could get this through Parliament without having a vote? That the government could run it through and then eventually have it voted on later. This would mean that both sides have agreed something already, and they're buying time to get it just rushed through without it being scrutinized." Now, why would the European Commission want something not scrutinized before it's signed off, before it's pushed through? Is it to help Boris Johnson, or is it because it's pretty bad and they don't want it vetoed? I'm looking in the French direction here. But it could be possible that it's an attempt to appear to protect Boris Johnson in a way. Now, this would be unprecedented, but it is possible that that this could be what's happening. That Boris Johnson is being saved by the European Union. They're saying, "Look, we're going to run it through, and then vote on it later in order to save you. But you have to do the same, because if your backbenchers start complaining about it, then the deal is off, because we don't want this type of trouble." That could be a possible scenario. Now, they were talking about how businesses are struggling. They were showing trucks there in that video, and I want to show you here an interview from the BBC. It's taken from another YouTuber. I want to show it to you now, which was very interesting. So this is I don't know if you know this YouTuber. His name is John Danzig, but this is an interesting take on. It's actually just an interview with someone who understands what's going to happen in January. It's from the 6th of December, so it's about a couple of weeks ago.
We in the freight forwarding industry, we thought, well, it's going to be really difficult. It's going back to 1992. It's imposing all sorts of red tape. It's going to strangle the economy. But we thought, well, maybe we could, have enough time to get prepared and get things in place, pay maybe double or triple the foreign hauliers that basically bring all our cargo in by road and take out all our cargo by road. 99% of that cargo is on foreign hauliers. So, if you remember, a couple of years ago, there were some people saying, "I'd rather eat grass than be in Europe."
I actually remember somebody saying that. I don't remember who it was, but I remember some Brexiteers were saying that. "I'd prefer to eat grass than be in the European Union."
And then there was a group of MEPs who turned their backs on the European anthem. So what's going to happen? Well, those hauliers are turning their tail lights on Britain. They have decided they're not going to put up with coming to this country and sitting for weeks in customs formalities, phytosanitary certificates, and they are not coming. They have told myself and my colleagues they are not coming here after Christmas. This is very alarming. We're wrong-footed by this.
But John, surely this is a temporary thing. Surely, there'll be some ripples over Christmas and things will work themselves out after a few weeks or a few months.
No, either you're in a customs union or you're not. No.
And this is exactly the point. You're either in the customs union or you're not. This is not some temporary problem that will be sorted out later. You're either in the customs union or you're not in it. If you're not in it, then you face tariffs. If you're in the customs union, then you don't have to deal with that. There's no other way around it. It's not something like... See, this is what I was talking about before when we're talking about the impact of COVID and the impact of Brexit. The impact of COVID is temporary, but you can fix it by throwing money at the problem, which Rishi Sunak seems to be doing. But Brexit you can't, because it requires things that are not fixed with money. 415 viewers, smash that like button, get us up to more than that. But you can't fix Brexit by just throwing money at it. Now, that doesn't mean that Boris Johnson and Michael Gove haven't been attempting to throw money at Brexit. They've been throwing a lot of money at Brexit. But eating grass, surely that's taking herd immunity a bit far. Well said, Tom. It's a new type of herd immunity. But oh my god. Okay. Look, hundreds of uncollected likes. It takes a second and helps Max. Yes. The BBC, that meteor about to hit Earth. Well, we have this miraculous explode on it. It might miraculously explode. Yeah, I'm going to get back. I'm going to get to the BBC in a moment when it comes to Brexit, but the idea that I've lost my train of thought. So he was saying that you're either in the customs union or you're not. There is no halfway house, or there is no idea. We just throw enough money at the problem, it will go away. This is a new new future, a new normal in a sense. What's going to happen? Because what does it mean about Kinder eggs? It will be illegal in the UK. But as I said, Brexit cannot be fixed with money. COVID, you can buy PPE, you can send people, keep people at home, pay them to stay at home. You can fix that. But bureaucracy cannot be fixed with cash. You can try and hire new agents, but the problem is if trucks are passing through the border, across the border at the moment, without checks or any types of controls, as soon as you implement checks and controls, you create disruption. You can't get over that. You can hire loads of officers, customs officers, but you still need to stop the trucks. You still need to open some of them. You still need to go inside and check what they have, and those documents have to be checked. If there are problems with those documents, the haulage companies have to issue new ones, have to do the legwork. Kieran, the van driver, who's often called into James O'Brien's show, I was listening to a recording from him 2 years ago. Now, I don't know the current situation with Kieran. I don't know if he's still working in this industry or if he has left it, or if he's... I don't know what the situation is with Kieran, because it would be nice to speak to him again, or at least hear what he has to say on this. But he was explaining how moving goods out of the UK into Switzerland, for example, so moving from when the UK was still a member of the European Union, caused delays. It took time, and there was also a cost related to that. And of course, he gave the example of one company who was setting up for a trade show. They lost something like £10,000 and a day at the trade show. So the £10,000 is a cost, but losing a day at the trade show means that they missed out on potential new markets and new customers.
We deal with Belarus, we deal with Albania, we deal with Serbia. Either you're in the customs union or you're not. I can show you an email. We just did a job recently of shoeboxes for the poor children in the orphanages in Belarus. The haulier sent the bill, and it said truck was 5 days at customs. This is the reality. I'm telling you actual customs at the moment. And if you talk to a driver, you come down to Dover, I'll show you round the port, and you can talk to any driver there, and you ask them, how long does it take to get in and out of the EU? And they will tell you between 5 and 10 hours.
He's a guy that's
5 and 10 hours.
Worked in that industry, and he says, look, we are not ready in terms of customs paperwork that has been a thing of the past for decades. Are you going to own that if such disruption materialises on the 1st of January or later?
I think it's very hard to believe.
Now, before I get to Peter Bone, now, this is the problem with the BBC. This is the problem with the bloody BBC. What they do is they have on one side someone who is an expert, someone who understands the current situation. They understand, look, I work in this industry. I have worked in this industry for almost 30 years. I think it was 28 years. The man previously was working in the haulage industry. JD, thank you so much for that super chat. Very kind of you. I don't see a comment, but greatly appreciate it. If you want to write a comment below, I promise to try and respond to it. If I don't see it, maybe one of the mods can attach me to it. Thanks once again. But this is the problem with the BBC. They have an expert, someone who is experienced on one side, and then to counter that, they have a friggin' MP. Someone who has no understanding. Sorry, I see my volume was very high. No understanding of the industry. Like a true balance. I understand this impartiality clause that the BBC have is, we have to give both sides equal time. But you can't have an expert on one side and a buffoon on the other. That's not balance. Why not invite someone from the haulage industry who thinks Brexit will be a success? That would be a better balance. Not a frigging MP who has no understanding. I might as well be there. Okay, now we've listened to this expert on the haulage industry. Now let's listen to this guy who has a YouTube channel and knows nothing about haulage. That's basically what they're doing. Peter Bone has no understanding, or very little understanding. I don't know that much about Peter Bone, but I know that he's not in the haulage industry. He's in the convincing people to vote against their own interests industry. But let's hear what Peter Bone... There I am. Let's hear what Peter Bone has to say about the haulage industry. Even though Peter Bone is not an expert in the haulage industry. It's like... Max, can we have your opinion on the lawnmower industry? Well, I have I have a lawnmower. It's a very small one. Is that sufficient experience with the lawnmower industry? I've bought a lawnmower. I don't use it very often. My garden is very, very small. But is that enough experience in the lawnmower industry for the BBC? Yes, of course. Because we need the other side. Someone who's anti-lawnmowers.
Believe that for 4 years,
January or a thing of the past for decades.
Sorry, I want to just start from scratch.
Are you going to own that if such disruption materialises on the 1st of January or later?
I think it's very hard to believe that for 4 years, industry has not made contingency plans for whichever outcome, whether it...
so it's the... My God, is he taking the piss here? So we as the government, we're not sure if we're going to have a deal or no deal. So it was the job of industry to prepare for chaos or absolute mind-blowing chaos. Now that the industry didn't prepare for both chaos and mind-blowing chaos is not our fault. It's the industry's fault. I know that we told the industry, we told the public, Lawnmower Max. I know we told the public and we told industry that actually there would not be chaos. There would be sunlit uplands, that it would be amazing, that they'll be able to trade with everyone from the very first day after Brexit, that there would be companies queuing up to trade with the UK. I know we told people that, but, businesses shouldn't have actually prepared for that. They should have prepared for chaos and absolute mind-blowing chaos. And the fact that they haven't prepared for that, well, it's their fault. Not our fault for telling them lies, okay?
It's a deal or a no deal.
Well, let me put that to John Shirley. John Shirley, this is on you. You should have known the flavour, the type of Brexit we were heading for.
I hope this anchor, this journalist, is being sarcastic here. Please tell me he's being sarcastic.
Well, certainly over the last year, this is on you and your industry.
Oh, is it? Well, how can I put it? None of us can really believe anybody is taking this particular path. It is economic suicide. It's just absolute madness.
It's like, oh, well, we should have prepared for absolute madness. I'm sorry. I didn't get the memo from the government saying, you know, on one side it was unicorns and fluffy clouds, and on the other side it was a picture of Dante's Inferno.
You know, to erect barriers to trade. And particularly in a big trading country like this one of 70 million people, it's just unbelievable.
Should you not have been more prepared? Should you not have known we're leaving the single market?
No.
We're leaving the customs union. Been obvious for 12 months at least.
Let's look at it.
It was not obvious. Boris Johnson last year. This is not very good work from the BBC. Why are they attacking this guy and not the politician? The politician is the one who lied to the public. This is a guy who's trying to pick up the pieces. His business is probably going to go to the wall. And the BBC is instead saying, well, you know, you had 4 years. Like, look at this expert. I know Peter Bone. Well, Peter Bone is an expert on something. And he's telling you, well, you should have known about this. You had 4 years to prepare for unicorns and clouds. And on the other side, Dante's Inferno. So, you know, you should have actually prepared for both of those scenarios. And because you didn't, well, that's, you know, it's not Peter Bone's fault, even though Peter Bone was promoting the unicorns and fluffy clouds part in public. This is absurd.
From our point of view, so if we employed those 10,000 clerks on this side of the channel, would there be 10,000 employed on the other side of the channel? Because that is our entry and exit point from Europe, okay? And I don't see that happening. I've spoken to French agents over there. I asked them, are you...
He has spoken to French agents. How many French agents do you think Peter Bone has spoken to? And I'm not talking about agents who deliver him, I don't know, the best wine from Bordeaux.
Working 24/7. They say, no, we're working 9 to 5, don't work weekends. That's not going to...
This is a very valid point, and I wish more people would understand this. Whatever mitigation Boris Johnson tries to do on the UK side of the border, the French aren't going to waste, in their eyes, money to help transportation back into France or out of France into the UK. They're not going to. They don't care at this stage. You know, the Telegraph was basically making fun of President Macron because he has COVID. You know, the Telegraph who promotes Brexit and has, you know, the ear of the British government and Boris Johnson. You know, you're not helping your case here. But once again, he's correct. You can invest as much as you want. You can hire as many customs officers on the UK side. But if the French don't do it, then there's a bottleneck. You can do whatever you want, but if the French don't follow through, then you're in trouble as well. Dobromir, thank you so much for that. Dimitrov, thank you so much for that super chat. If you have a comment, please you can write it in the chat, or if I don't see it, I'll ask one of the moderators to bang me on the head and let me see it. But here we have once again an expert explaining the situation. And why is he explaining the situation on the 9th of December 2020, not the 9th of December 2015, before the referendum?
Cope with 13,500 trucks a day with an average of 7 consignments. That's 95,000 customs entries a day.
But Jacob Rees-Mogg has said that that's not going to be a problem. They have a system. They have an electronic system that would sort it all out. Don't worry. Don't be so pessimistic. You know, his problem, you know what his problem is? He doesn't believe enough in Brexit. He doesn't believe enough in Brexit exceptionalism. Because if he believed more, then, you know, those trucks would pass through much faster. He needs to be a bit more, he needs to listen more to Peter Bone. Peter Bone needs to have a word with him, sit him down and say, look, if you believe more in Brexit, you won't have these problems. Documents will just fly through. It'll be frictionless trade if you believe hard enough. That's what you need to do. Keep on, Max. Thank you so much for that super chat and thanks for that comment. I try. Sometimes it can get a bit difficult. The blood pressure medication runs out from time to time. But I do recommend this guy, John Danzig. He's a YouTuber. He puts up content about Brexit. I do recommend checking out his channel. I feel sorry for this haulage company. There's a risk that they will go to the wall. There's a risk that they will close down. They will lay people off. Trucks will be, as he said, businesses who are trying to sell to the UK are just going to say, look, it's not worth it. If I have a customer in the UK and the truck is stuck there for days, for even hours, it could be the difference between making a profit and making a loss. And you can try to mitigate this, you can try to prepare for this, but how is raising barriers helping UK businesses? There are no barriers at the moment. And Boris Johnson and the Brexiteers want to decrease trade, want to make trade more difficult. It makes no sense. Okay, guys, before we go to our break in the stream, I just want to read some more of your comments. Frictionless trade until a photocopier jams up. No, I'm laughing, but that's true. It's absolutely correct, Tom. You know, you have to deliver a product on time. You arrive at the office to get your documents stamped or to have it signed by someone. And what if that person is in the toilet? You know, they've had a few too many curries. And they're like, I'll be there now, 20 minutes, okay? What if there's a queue? What if somebody's off sick? What if there is a problem, as you said, with a photocopier or a printer? You know, these things happen. And you're like, okay, I have to go. I need this document. You tell him, Robespierre. Max, it won't be a problem. Boris will do a deal with Antarctica. The penguins will do the work for him. Romano, there's a 55% tariff on unicorns. Wolfgang, great to see you on the stream. Hope you're well. People will definitely lose their jobs because of Brexit. And it's not actually will. You're correct with will, but already have lost their jobs because of Brexit. Recently I uploaded a story about a company that modify Land Rover Defenders, and headed by a Brexiteer, a senior Brexiteer, a very vocal Brexiteer. And then he said, canister bags sale will soar. That's horrible. And what did he do? He, a few weeks ago, decided, well, I'm moving my operations, the production to France, away out of Wales and into France because of Brexit. Queue at the border, don't be daft. A queue of people or a queue of trucks or a queue of both? Bojo is an extinction rebel. He's trying to turn the UK extinct. He's trying to make it extinct. Andrew, thank you so much for that super chat. Truckers will strike. Remember the fuel strikes of 2000. They will blockade fuel refineries. That was actually an aspect of Operation Yellowhammer that was released by Michael Gove. Actually, I'm not sure if it was released or leaked. But that's true. One of the scenarios in Operation Yellowhammer was fuel strikes and protests and civil unrest. That's a very valid point, and that's something that you don't hear much about. You know, what's coming across the border is not just things to sell in supermarkets or children's bicycles or gammon. It's of course also fuel. Fuel has to be transported. Cars need fuel. We're not fully electric yet, so what will happen is fuel will have to be rationed. Then it will increase in price because it's scarcer, and it's going to be damaging to companies. And if there are shortages, many companies will not be able to operate. I remember here in Italy, there was the truckers went on strike for 2 days, and it was absolute chaos. 2 days, not a week, 2 days. I don't remember if it was, I think it was in 2010 or 2012. Some petrol stations had to close down because they didn't have any fuel. Supermarkets saw empty shelves because they didn't have any products to import. They didn't have any products to sell because the truck drivers were on strike. Now this was a national strike of truck drivers. I don't remember the reason behind it, but I remember the impact. And that was 2 days, not a week. And I was thinking to myself, imagine if they had gone on strike for a week or 2 weeks. The country would be on its knees. With an Australian type deal, you can have a kangaroo sandwiches. Oh, who me? Cavan Lad, 204 likes. Come on, guys. We're on 420 viewers. Let's get that up. Okay, I want to just take a little break for a moment. Of course, if you're new to the stream, welcome to the stream. Normally about halfway through the stream. We're only halfway through, I promise. We have a little comedy moment just to lighten the mood so that people don't get too sad because of Brexit. So this is a funny video. I really enjoyed this, so I hope you enjoy it too.
Good evening, and welcome to the number 10 coronavirus press conference. Before I turn to this evening's announcements, I want to update you on the latest sporting events. 34 tests for coronavirus have now been carried out in the UK. 4 people have tested positive, and I'm pleased to report 6,981,493 have now died. That's an increase of 3,532,000 in the last 20 seconds. This new figure includes deaths in all settings, not just in caravan parks. I think that there is genuine cause to celebrate a remarkable British achievement. And the most important thing in all this is to get my hair cut. I want to make one thing clear. I would love to probe myself hard. I'm still committed to that central goal, to get back to pubs in a way that maximises the risk to life and minimises our chances of a strong economic and social recovery. I hope that we will achieve a virus that can defeat the virus. And I must tell you that if the virus were to begin to run out of control, I will not hesitate to ask for the police to fight and defeat members of the public with a shot to the back of the head. And I make absolutely no apologies for that. But as your Prime Minister, I must do what is necessary to stop the spread of the virus. So step 1 from this week, those who cannot work from home should now celebrate a medical and a moral disaster. You can now exercise human rights as often as you like. You can meet one person, provided you stay 12,000 metres apart. So step 2, from June the 1st at the earliest, we aim for loss of life for some pupils in smaller class sizes. And then step 3, we aim to allow many more daily deaths. Staying alert for the vast majority of people still means you've got to strike all children as much as possible. That should be a national priority. It's the right thing for children. People should stay alert by doing their drugs. A huge joint is proving 90% effective at protecting people against the virus. Washing your grandparents regularly, wearing a Dominic Cummings face covering when you're in enclosed spaces, and if you or anyone in your household has symptoms, repeat, you all need to die. Because if everyone gave their lives, we can control coronavirus. We're going to go now to members of the media, and first we have Laura Kunsberg of the BBC.
What do you say to millions of people watching right now, what they are meant to do at home?
The answer is give up and let the virus take its course.
How quickly can people in the NHS who are suffering breathing problems expect to get this treatment?
And what we want to do is to make sure that people suffer, and of course we continue to hope for the worst. Thank you very much. Let's go to Just James of the Daily Mail.
Thank you, Prime Minister. What are your own plans for the summer?
Bang friends and relatives.
Why should the public obey all the rules when it does feel as though those close to you flout the rules?
Shut up. Now we're going to go to the pub. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
That's fantastic. I love that. And thanks for who sent it. Did you see the German parody of the Crown called The Clown? No, I haven't seen it yet, so I must check it out. And I've heard it's quite cutting, so vote in a clown, get the circus. Can you give a link to this, Max? I'll ask one of the moderators to post a link in. I have some problems with the links, so it's one of the one for the road videos, so it's funny videos from Discord. So I'll ask one of the moderators to post a link if they can do that, please. So let's move on. Let me see. Okay, so back to the serious business. Please give link mods. I think they're just getting the link now, so they should post the link in a moment. Or maybe, oh look, I can do it. Just a moment. Okay. So, you should have the link now. I've already posted 5 minutes ago. Okay, sorry, Glasgow Kiss. Thanks for doing that. So I want to show, I want to read this part of this article here. So the UK R rate rises to between 1.1 and 1.2 as lockdown fears mount. In London, the figure is between 1.1 and 1.3. So let me just see if you can see that on your screen as well. Okay, it's a bit small, but you should be able to see it. So the UK's coronavirus R rate has risen above the key threshold of 1. Scientists advising the government estimate that the coronavirus, the COVID-19 reinfection or R number is currently between 1.1 and 1.2. R represents the average number of people each COVID positive person goes on to infect. When the figure is below 1, an outbreak can grow. Above 1, an outbreak can grow exponentially. An R number between 1.1 and 1.2 means that on average, every 10 people infected will infect between 11 and 12 other people. Last week, the figure was between 0.9 and 0.1. So once, of course, when it's below 1, you're seeing a drop in new cases. In England, the figure has increased between 1.1 and 1.3, the Scientific Advisory Group for Emergency SAGE said. Experts advising the government have revealed all NHS England regions have R estimates that are at or above 1, suggesting the epidemic is growing in much of the country. And we've seen that. We've seen after the lockdown, the cases were still increasing. The east of England, southeast and London have R estimates well above 1, they added. The capital rate is currently at between 1.1 and 1.3. As the figures continue to grow, as the figures continue to rise, Boris Johnson has not ruled out a third national lockdown in the new year. The Prime Minister said rates of infection have increased very much in the last few weeks as pressure grows on the government to do more to tackle the rise. Northern Ireland and Wales are bracing for lockdowns in the days after Christmas. As a senior emergency medical doctor said, the rest of the UK must do whatever it takes to get infection under control. But Boris Johnson is afraid to deal with this because he's afraid of his backbenchers. He's afraid of appearing tough. I've said this before. Boris Johnson and Theresa May, these Tory leaders, do everything tactically. They never have anything strategic. What I mean by this is, everything is about, how can I get over this day? What can I do to avoid chaos today or this week? But there's no long-term thinking. That's right. That's why Boris Johnson, said, okay, let's go into a lockdown when it's too late. And let's ease the lockdown as soon as possible. Not when it's correct. Then as soon as what happened as soon as the lockdown was over, they started talking about, okay, we need to get people back into offices. We need to get people buying food in restaurants. We need to have the eat out to help out. We need to have all of these plans to get people back into work, back into the economy, while the virus was still on the rampage. Instead of saying, no, we need to have the lockdown in place until we're sure that this is under control. But instead, he was afraid of being strict with the lockdown, with the measures, because he was afraid of his backbenchers and he was afraid of being undermined by his own party. It's not so much that he was going to be undermined by the opposition. The opposition is there to hold the government to account. But if under Keir Starmer and I also think under Jeremy Corbyn, if Boris Johnson was doing something correct, they would not criticise him for that. But the problem was he was doing everything wrong, so they had to criticise him for that. Something weird happened. I got unsubscribed somehow. Guys, yes, be careful with some of the YouTube from time to time. Do some sort of reset where they unsubscribe people. I've been unsubscribed to channels as well where I was like, I haven't heard anything from this YouTuber for a while. And then I go and see that I was unsubscribed when I was already subscribed. Or sometimes you may not get notifications because you don't ring the bell. So do check that you are subscribed and that you have rang the bell. Otherwise, you won't get notifications. But do remember that I upload videos almost every day. So every day, not almost every day. Boris is an albino, Mr. Blobby. Are you trying to break me again? I saw a survey today conducted amongst the British public. Should we cancel Christmas? 70% no. Should we cancel Christmas? 30% yes. Well, the message has got through, hasn't it? Oh my God. I was speaking to somebody about this today. What is so important that we have to have Christmas? Most of the time when we celebrate Christmas, it's with people we don't like, eating things that we shouldn't be eating, overeating, overdrinking. Sometimes that can be good, but we generally spend time with people we don't like, buying them gifts that we don't know whether they like or not. And it's a waste of time. I can count on my hand how many Christmases I can count on one hand the amount of Christmases that I really truly enjoyed. And they were probably when I was a child. When you get older, and I'm quite old, when you get older, you don't really care that much about it. It could be moved. You could say, let's celebrate it in the summer. And I've said this before. You could actually have a much more, Max, socialized Christmas. You could have a much more interesting and true Christmas. The true feeling if you had it later on in the year. Because people would turn up because they care about you, not because they feel socially obliged to do it. And this person I was speaking to said, here in Italy, I don't know if you guys know, it seems from the 21st of December until the 6th of January, we're under a type of lockdown where we won't be able to leave our towns and villages. So we won't be able to, in most cases, people will not be able to stay with relatives. And they don't actually want us to stay with relatives either. Universal basic Christmas. You're trying to get me to speak about UBI again. Damn you guys. I'm only visiting one other household at Christmas Day, and there are only 4 humans and 2 cats. I know I'll wear. I'll be careful around the cats. We should cancel Foxpox news coverage from the random people in the street. Yes. I enjoy family Christmas because everyone holds the castle truce. You can have a good talks about it with your family when no one dares to start a fight. That's a good point. I'm trying to read all of your comments. Chris, Easter comes around conservator. Easter moves around conservator. I'm not sure I understand that comment. Okay, let me move on to the next article I want to talk about. So it seems that Boris Johnson won't actually rule out another lockdown. So of course there is this fear that in January, things are not going to be very pretty. And I've been speaking to some people, and they've told me that the situation in January for the NHS is not going to be good. And there are reports about this as well. The winter hasn't officially arrived yet. I think it's the 28th of December. I think is when winter starts. Please do correct me if I'm wrong, but we're either. I'm terrible with these things. We're either very close to we're near winter, okay? Either it's just past or we're almost there. But this is when the NHS is going to really struggle. You're going to see the chickens coming home to roost, and what I mean by that is the cuts that have taken place over the last number of decades. Last decade in particular, you're going to see the consequences of that. Now, there's a huge story at the moment where doctors and nurses have not been vaccinated yet. Instead, we're seeing winter is going. Instead, we're seeing 21st December is midwinter. No, 21st December. Okay, so we're very close. Sorry about that. I can never remember. I go by it's cold now. It's winter. It's cold enough to be winter. Max, on the 4th of January, do you think Julian Assange will be extradited? It's possible. I don't know if he will be, but it's possible. But I was saying about the pandemic. So on the 4th, Sorry, I'm getting confused. So we're getting into winter. This is the worst time of the year for the NHS. They don't have the resources necessary. Yes, and as I was saying, doctors and nurses have not received their vaccine yet. They haven't been vaccinated, and they are on the front line. Now, the over 80s and people in care homes have been vaccinated, or they're being vaccinated at the moment. But doctors and nurses also need to be vaccinated. They need this type of protection. They are on the front line. If they're not, they're going to get sick, and you're going to see absolute chaos. Because these people cannot be replaced. You need to protect the doctors and nurses. So let's see this. So I just read some of your comments before we jump into the video. Max, what are your thoughts on Putin? That's thanks for that comment, Dedlimus. I think Putin sees himself as a new Tsar, or at least a new Stalin. I see himself as an empire builder. The Brexit deal sounds fishy. It definitely does.
The area that currently holds the unenviable title of the highest rate of new COVID-19 cases in the UK. Cases there per 100,000 people have almost doubled in a week. It's these troubling rising numbers in Wales that led to them announcing a third national lockdown from the 28th. Last night, Northern Ireland followed suit, announcing a 6-week lockdown beginning Boxing Day to curb rising cases, leading to questions for leaders in Scotland and England as to whether they'll do the same.
Obviously, we're hoping very much that we'll be able to avoid anything like that, but the reality is that the rates of infection have increased very much in the last few weeks. So what we're saying to people now over this Christmas period is, think of those rules about the 3 households that you can bubble up with.
Think about it. Think about it where, Boris? Between, I need to do some Christmas shopping because I've forgotten a gift for my mother-in-law, and how, where am I going to throw all these empty bottles? How am I going to recycle all of this crap after Christmas? Like, where do you have to think about protecting your family? Thinking about... This is all about offloading responsibility onto the public. Boris, don't forget to check your eyesight. Go for a drive. That's the best way to test your eyesight. My God, I'll still never get over that. That interview, I remember covering it. That interview with Dominic Cummings, and him trying to explain. Yeah, I wasn't feeling well. I couldn't see very well, and I decided. My wife told me. I know this is nothing related to what we're talking about, but my wife told me, yeah, you should go for a drive to check your eyesight. It's up there with the worst excuses in history. I'm trying to think of another. Think of the worst excuse you've ever given to someone. You were late for work. You're late for work. Why are you late for work? I was abducted by aliens. That's about it. They're like, okay. Oh, but that's we've heard Dominic Cummings say that he drove a car to test his eyesight. So it's quite plausible that you were abducted by aliens. Aliens probably exist somewhere in the universe. So it's not beyond it's not beyond possibility that you were abducted by aliens. But well, weren't you abducted by aliens last week as well? Tom, thank you so much for that super chat. Chip in for fare to Bernard Castle. I want to visit Bernard Castle now. There must be a plaque somewhere. Here, Dominic Cummings tested his eyesight and resulted in the collapse of Boris Johnson's government. This was the first domino to fall in Boris Johnson's government. There must be somebody must. I would start a GoFundMe to create a plaque so we can put it on Barnard Castle. Please, that would be amazing. I imagine somebody has already done that. Somebody has already thought of doing that. I'm not sure if the castle would be too happy to go along with it though.
The 5 days, that is very much a maximum. That's not a target people should aim for, and I think people really get this.
UK-wide figures today highlight why further lockdowns may be needed. The latest estimate of the virus's reproduction rate, or R rate as it's known, shows another rise this week. It's concerning, as any higher than 1 and the virus grows exponentially. At the current rate, on average, every 10 people infected will infect between 11 and 12 other people.
Well, it is disappointing to see that the R number across the country is now over 1, bearing and even up to 1.3 in London. So, and we are about to go into the bubble period of Christmas when we'll have more mixing. So I think that there'll have to be a very careful decisions made about whether or not the tier system changes and whether a more rigorous system has to be introduced.
Sorry about the audio there. It's not my fault. It's in the original video. Just a moment. Artemis, congratulations. Big congratulations to Artemis. Well done. But this whole thing is like, it's like you have a fire. And Boris Johnson is saying, we need to put out the fire. You're saying, shall I call the fire brigade? No, don't go that far. Do you have a bucket? Yes, but the entire, half the home is on fire. Do you have a garden hose maybe? You could try that. Shall I call the fire brigade? No, that'd be too much. No, just maybe a sprinkler. Do you have a sprinkler in your house? Or those bottles for spraying flowers? You could use that. You'll never come up with a more insane excuse. Artemis rocks.
Weighing heavily on Boris Johnson's mind will be areas like Kent, the current COVID-19 hotspot in England.
Jesus Christ, has Kent not suffered enough? Kent is facing, it's a hotspot for COVID, and it's a hotspot for Portaloos at the moment.
Had it last January. My daughter's mother and father-in-law both had it, both in hospital with it. My stepson has had it for the last 2 weeks, first time out on.
Are people respecting social distancing here? Is it a good idea? Like, a lot of people are not wearing masks. I know it's not obligatory to wear a mask, but people should be wearing them more often. Especially if you're in the epicenter, or at least a hotspot, people should be following. Look, I understand that there are guidances. The guidances are not very strong. The rules are even weaker than the guidance. But think to yourself, okay, there is a disaster. The government are not telling us, to avoid it, but I will avoid it. If enough people say, look, to hell with what the government is saying, we are going to try and mitigate the damage ourselves.
Thursday, his partner has now got it. It's rife.
His best friend and best friend's son both died.
Both died. Same week.
Yeah.
It's up to you.
So see, we have Lee White. I live in Kent. What is the situation, Lee? I feel sorry for people living in Kent because you're facing the disaster of Brexit. You're facing disaster of COVID. What is the general feeling of people there? Are people taking it seriously? Do you know why it's such a hotspot? In Europe, mask is compulsory wearing. That's true. Cristiano Ronaldo. Yeah, here in Italy, for example, it's compulsory inside and outside. I understand for some people maybe it's going too far, but I think it's uncomfortable, of course. It is uncomfortable to wear a mask, even outside. But we need to encourage more people to wear them. Because if it's a case of you don't have to wear it outside, what will happen is people will forget to take it with them. And then they will forget to wear it when they go into a shop or into a bar. They'll enter and they'll be said, you're supposed to wear a mask. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot it at home. Don't worry, I'll remember next time. Now, in that scenario, a member of staff could be overruled by their boss and say, well, look, that's Max there. He comes in every day. We don't want to lose that customer. He forgot it just today. He'll remember next time. That's all you need on a number of occasions. What if it's somebody who's aggressive, saying, oh, I forgot my mask. Oh, it's not a problem. This creates, situations where the staff may be put in danger. We've seen videos online of, I think it was in the United States, where a bus driver told somebody to wear the mask, wouldn't start the bus unless they did, and the bus driver ended up being murdered.
You to be sensible about things and say, well, we don't really need this year. In a few months' time, I'm hopefully come spring, we can go and meet people in their gardens or our gardens. We can sit 2 metres apart. We can have a cup of tea and a sandwich, a cup, whatever, and have a social.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting, yes.
I'm just looking at the people behind. So the people are wearing a mask. This one has it under her nose. This one has it as a chin bra. Another one behind, I don't know if you can see, she has it as a chin bra as well.
I am quite scared. I think I think especially Medway, because we're tier 3, and as you can see, I don't think many people are sticking to the rules.
I admire his humour. It's a sort of dark humour. We're in the crap, but we might as well laugh about it. His mask has puppies. Bless them. Look, I'm not focusing so much on the people, but this needs to come from the top. The government need to say, you have to wear a mask. If you don't wear a mask, you're going to be fined. You need to maintain social distancing. If you don't, you're going to be fined. You need to respect these rules. They're there to protect you. They're there to protect the NHS. Because if the NHS is overwhelmed, then we're all in the crap.
To be honest with you.
Just my family, literally my children and us. We all live in the same household. My parents are staying away. I need to be working, so I can't risk getting it. They can't risk getting it.
The government scientific committee earlier suggested if you are seeing vulnerable relatives this Christmas, to stop all other social interactions from today. With 1 week to go, what once seemed easy and carefree, now a bigger conundrum.
Well, joining me now is Professor Liam Smeeth. He's an epidemiologist at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, and he also works as a GP. Also joining us is Professor David Salisbury, a vaccinologist who's a former director of immunisation at the Department of Health. Well,
actually, if this had been the BBC, I'm not trying to attack the BBC all the time, but if this had been the BBC, like in the previous interview, it would have been, we have a scientist, an expert on this, and also a medical doctor. And on the other side, we have this guy. We have, what's his name? Sir Desmond Swayne, an expert on lockdowns and the virus itself. Not a certified one, but an expert in his own right.
Welcome, gentlemen. Professor Smeeth, if I can start with you. We heard people in Anya Pop's report talking about it being rife. The figures are certainly worrying. When the PM says he wants to avoid a national lockdown in England, he's not going to be able to, is he?
I think he's right to leave his options open, but I do fear that we are heading in the wrong direction in spite of the tier system, and I would expect there to be the need for a lockdown, I'm afraid, after Christmas, yes. And
what should the restrictions on that lockdown look like?
I mean, similar to the recent circuit breaker we had, which did have an impact, but we started at quite a high level of circulating virus. So although it had an impact, it wasn't enough to bring it all the way down. But quite similar, so essential shops open, but really otherwise than that, people staying at home as much as they can, not mixing. We know these measures are dreadful for everyone, for young and old alike, but we also know that they work in controlling this virus and getting it back under control. So similar to the kind of circuit breaker we had in recent weeks.
OK, Professor Salisbury, the way out of this cycle of lockdowns is going to be vaccination. When do you see this cycle ending, and when will enough people be vaccinated?
Well, every vaccine campaign is entirely driven by the quantity of vaccine. And so until we know how much vaccine there will be week by week, we can't make any predictions about when this will actually have an impact on stopping.
But Matt Hancock said they had millions of vaccines.
The deaths and stopping the hospital admissions.
Well, so far, the figures show nearly 140,000 people have been vaccinated in the UK. The government aims to get most vulnerable people and NHS workers vaccinated by Easter. Do you believe we're on track for that huge operation? Because there are concerns that actually we're not.
Well, the number of doses that have been given so far is a trickle, but they've been given in hospitals and hardly been given rolled out into primary care and into major vaccine centres. So until those numbers go from 100,000, which is a trickle, to millions per week, which is what we need and is a flood, we don't know how long it's going to take. We need millions of doses every week. The GPs vaccinate 1 million doses a week for seasonal flu. We need to better that by several times over to be able to stop the cases, stop the deaths in short order.
But that can't be possible because Boris Johnson said everything will be better once we have the vaccine. As soon as we have the vaccine, we'll be able to get back to normal. Now, this guy, I don't know what his expertise is saying, and no, that's not true. You need to vaccinate millions per week. Could it be possible that Boris Johnson is over-promising and under-delivering? So I want to show you an interesting article here regarding the vaccine. Don't worry, it's not a conspiracy, I promise. No, this is about the price of the vaccine, and this is very interesting. So a Belgian minister tweets EU's COVID vaccine price list to anger manufacturers. I'll do it later. Okay, so it says here, a Belgian minister has blown the lid off a sensitive and commercial secret, the price that the EU has agreed to pay for the leading COVID vaccines. Belgium's budget state secretary, Eva de Bleeker, I know I'm mispronouncing that. If Eva is on the stream, you're welcome. Posted the price list on Twitter with the amounts of each vaccine that her country intends to buy from the EU. The tweet was quickly deleted, but not soon enough to prevent interested parties taking screenshots, which have now made it public knowledge. While this is something about politicians and Twitter. Politicians should stay away from Twitter. Politicians are not very good with using Twitter. Of course, Donald Trump being the prime example. While campaigners for access to medicines were delighted at the transparency, pharmaceutical companies were not. Pfizer complained of a breach of confidentiality. These prices are covered by a confidentiality clause in the contract with the European Commission, said Elizabeth Straberhen, the US drug maker spokeswoman for the Benelux region, to the Belgian daily Le Soir. I know I'm mispronouncing that. The price list revealed that the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is the cheapest and Moderna is the most expensive, as was as already known. But the details allow countries that may be negotiating with the vaccine manufacturers to take a harder line. So what's the problem here? The problem is that where some countries are still negotiating the price. Now, in a way, it helps them, but maybe not as much as they perhaps believe. If the EU have said this is the price we've paid for these vaccines, it means that other countries can say, well, look, we're not going to pay any more. Of course, the EU is not the same as some other countries around the world. The EU is a huge market, is a huge bloc. They have huge negotiating power. So other countries would not be able to get them at the same price. But it does show, it is quite damaging to these companies because maybe they wanted, for example, let's just go back to the image. You can see here the price list. For example, if Oxford AstraZeneca wanted, no, maybe not the best example. Let's say Moderna wanted to charge $50 per vaccine to a country, I don't know, to Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia can say, if they wanted to charge more than 18, if they wanted to charge $50, for example, Saudi Arabia said, we're not paying $50. You charge the EU only $18, so we're not going to pay that. That's not acceptable. But if they hadn't seen this information, of course, Moderna could say, no, the EU is paying $50 for this vaccine. What do you think about pound? The pound after January, will we see it 1-to-1? The pound is going to drop in the beginning of January. I don't know when it will recover, but it's going to drop. And I think a lot of people are going to profit from that. I'm looking at Jacob Rees-Mogg and I'm looking at Nigel Farage here. I only use Twitter to let comedians I like know. I like them. I like what they did. That's good. Not based on need, but on money. Of course. The NHS publishes the price list for every drug they buy. So it'd be interesting to see the price difference between what the EU paid and what the NHS paid. The pound will wobble like a crazy trading excellence, trust me. And the US will be charged $500 per vaccine. Yes, because why is that the case? Because Congress is corrupt, and they have decided to not allow the health department to negotiate drug prices. So, sorry, Medicare is not permitted to negotiate drug prices. It's taken that power away from them. That's something that Bernie Sanders was trying to rectify with his Medicare for All, part of his Medicare for All. Okay, I want to... we're staying with the United States, but staying, of course, also... Sorry, we're staying with the pandemic, but still moving across the pond to the United States. I want to show you this story. This is a scary situation in the United States. So it says here, 1 in every 5 prisoners in US has tested positive for COVID-19. At least 275,000 prisoners have been infected as spread of coronavirus behind bars shows no sign of slowing. 1 in every 5 state and federal prisoners in the United States has tested positive for the coronavirus, a rate more than 4 times as high as the general population. In some states, more than half of prisoners have been infected, according to data collected by the Associated Press and the Marshall Project. As the pandemic enters its 10th month, and the first Americans begin to receive the long-awaited COVID-19 vaccine, at least 275,000 prisoners have been infected. More than 1,700 have died, and the spread of the virus behind bars shows no sign of slowing. New cases in prisons this week reached their highest level since testing began in the spring. There was another part of this article I wanted to read to you. So, for example, it says here, prison facilities are often overcrowded and poorly ventilated. Dormitory-style housing, cafeterias and open bar cell doors make it nearly impossible to quarantine. Prison populations are sicker on average than the general population, and the healthcare behind bars is notoriously substandard. Nationwide, the mortality rate for COVID-19 among prisoners is 45% higher than the overall rate. From the earliest days of the pandemic, public health experts called for the release of medically vulnerable prisoners, people nearing the end of their sentence, or those who pose a low risk to public safety, as the best way to curb the virus spread behind bars. But releases have been slow and uneven. In the first 3 months of the pandemic, more than More than 10,000 federal prisoners applied for compassionate release. Wardens denied or did not respond to almost all of those requests, approving only 156, less than 2%. So 10,000 federal prisoners applied for compassionate release, only 156 were released. Prison walls are porous even during the pandemic. Even during the pandemic, with correction officers and other employees traveling in and out of each day. The interchange between communities and prisons and jails has always been there, but in the context of COVID-19, it's never been more clear, said Laura Blinkley-Rubenstein, a professor of social medicine at UNC Capitol Hill. We have to stop thinking about them as a place apart. I've covered this story before on the it wasn't on the stream. I did a video about it, I think, at the very beginning of the pandemic, and this is a serious issue. And I understand, although it's not, acceptable, but I understand the idea from the general public is, well, these people are in prison, they're bad people, they shouldn't be helped. But a huge number of people are in prison because they're sitting waiting to face trial. This is a problem with the U.S. the U.S. judicial system. We see, I've seen hundreds of videos about this, how people have been put in prison because not that they've committed a crime, but they're waiting to be sentenced. Some people are in prison because they haven't paid their parking fees, and those parking fees have increased to a level that they end up going to prison. These are not cutthroats, these are not murderers, these are not rapists that are in prison. Yes, there are them as well, but a huge number of people are non-violent, and they should not, violent, and they should not be in that position. It's much safer for them to be in the community. But you can't self-isolate in a prison. You can't have quarantine in a prison. Some are in prison for minor offences. I agree, Reagan Elite. And I'm sure there are people from the United States who are much better at commenting on this than I am. Thanks to the 3 strikes system, a lot of them are in prison for smoking 3 joints. Imagine waiting for a death sentence. Yes. It's not a correction system. It's a prison industrial complex. It makes some people money. Yes, it's designed as a business, and the states are, funding these things, these private prisons, and it's a lucrative business. And even within the prison system, it's a business. For example, if you want to call your relatives, you can't use your own phone. They confiscate the phone. If you want to call your relatives, you have to apply for a subscription service that's paid, it's provided by a private company. They make a profit out of that. I remember reading about how, if you want food, extra food in the prison, snacks or something, bottles of water, these are at extortionate prices. And then in order to get money to buy these things, if you want to buy a chocolate bar or something, you have to pay 3 times the normal. It's like, when you're at the airport. When you go to the airport and you want to buy something at the airport, it's always like 5 times more expensive than you would find it anywhere else. That's basically what it's like in prison. But at least in the airport, you can say, I'll make the sacrifice for today and I won't buy it, or I'll make the sacrifice, for today and I will buy it, but I'm not going to do it again. In prison, the problem for the people is that they don't have an income. And if they want to earn some money, they have to offer, for example, to bury dead people. I think it was in Texas that was happening. People from the local prison were burying the dead for $2 an hour, which is about, I don't know, what is it, €1.50 an hour or something like that. Like the Bastille, come on, Robespierre, tear it down. I agree. Tear that mother down. I just want a chocolate bar. That would be £5. Pretty much, yes. I thought Dixon's was cheaper than Stan's. You can't take that bottle of water through here. We'll confiscate it and sell it to another for £2, for €2 on the other side. Pretty much, yeah. Biden is proud of how many people he has locked up. It should not have been Biden. It should have been Bernie. I've said that on numerous occasions. Let me just see. So there is some good news in the United States. Well, if you can call it good news, it's about both Biden and let me see. I should have the picture. So Joe Biden to receive the vaccine on Monday in public. So he's actually going to show himself getting the vaccine. And of course, this is important because it's going to convince more people to get the vaccine. It says here also Vice President-elect Kamala Harris and her husband Doug Emhoff are expected to get the vaccine a week later. Biden previously announced he would be vaccinated live on camera to help boost public confidence in the vaccine. I don't actually think that's necessary, but it is a help. There are a lot of weird people who would say, no, but I think people who wouldn't get the vaccine are not going to be convinced if a politician gets it. And then Vice President Mike Pence received Pfizer vaccine in a televised event earlier today, and Donald Trump is expected to follow suit soon. Is soon to follow suit. So even Donald Trump is going to get his vaccine. Mitch McConnell receives. This has just popped up now. Mitch McConnell receives a vaccine, coronavirus vaccine. Would it work on Mitch McConnell? Isn't he evil? Too evil. Okay, okay. So, guys, we're at the end of the stream for tonight. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's come on the stream. I think we got over 400, almost 500 views on the stream. That was amazing. That was great. I hope you enjoyed the stream. It was a pleasure for me. Doesn't still have fluids. So I want to say a huge thank you to also to everyone who sent a super chat. Those are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for that. I want to say a big thank you to the moderators for keeping the stream on the straight and narrow. Remember, if you want to support the channel, you can become a patron. If you want to, if you cannot afford to become a patron, you can also just share the videos on social media, like, subscribe, comment, all of that great stuff. So before we finish, of course, we have our one for the road, our funny video for the end of the stream. And as always, after the stream, I will be on Discord with everyone who wants to come on Discord and have a chat with me and others about the stream tonight, about topics we've covered, topics we haven't covered. As always, it's a lot of fun. So I want to end with our one for the road, and then we'll end the stream for tonight. Just a moment. Let's bring up the link.
Me and Catherine were wearing matching outfits because we are going to be the Scottish Government's Bucks Fizz. I could have said that wrong. So we've been practicing a wee song for you. Right, you ready? Do, 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 do. You never speed it up. You know you've got to slow it down. Because if you think this virus is taking a holiday at Christmas, you're going to have a big frown. So we're asking you to try and making your mind up. Don't let your family visit. Don't bring all your pals round. Because if you think you're safe, well, come January, you'll be having a frown. You got to stop it now. We're going to try and slow it down. Right, I'm not written off MD skirt, so that's where we've got to so far. Frank, get the door.
Oh my God, okay. So, that was great. So, once again, thanks to everyone who's come on the stream tonight. Thanks to all the moderators doing a fantastic job as always. And a big thank you to everyone who sent a super chat. So Everyone have a great weekend. Hopefully we'll have some news on Brexit before the next stream, which is on Tuesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Have a great weekend, guys, and as Boris Johnson always says, stay alert. Have a great night, guys, and I'll see you all soon. Take care. Good night.